Welcome to another exciting episode of the Business of Digital podcast, featuring your hosts, Matt Siltala and Dave Rohr. Hey everybody, Matt Siltala here alongside Dave Rohr, and another one of these Business of Digital podcasts. Thank you guys for joining us. Hello, Dave.
Hello, sir.
How's it going today, man?
It is very nice out. It is not crazy hot out, so I will certainly take it. And you're probably melting.
Well, you know what? We're actually not bad right now, believe it or not. Knock on some wood. I mean, when I say we're not bad right now, you know, we're only about 105, which, you know, in July, only 105 is pretty good. I'll take it.
That's ridiculous.
So, what we wanted to talk about today, ladies and gentlemen, was something that I come across a Facebook post a couple days ago, or maybe a week ago, by our friend, I believe both of our friends,
Yes.
Dave, Tony Wright. He had posted after some controversial stuff happened at a specific conference event, industry event, and talking about leadership. And I thought it was a very interesting post. He basically, you know, and the reason that it struck my interest was I couldn't believe like what kind of interaction that it brought. And so he basically posed the question of, you know, do we need leadership in this industry, and who's willing to step up, and what do we do? Because you know, when the crap, so to speak, hits the fan and stuff goes down, like, you know, who do we look to, especially when, you know, people that are quote unquote leaders are the one throwing the poop in the fan. And so I thought it was an interesting question, and there was a mix of responses. And so I guess what I'll do, Dave, I'll let you kind of open it up and share your thoughts, and we can see where this discussion goes. But basically, leadership in this industry, and is it needed? Who's a leader? Who do you consider a leader? I mean, I know that a lot of this is, there's a lot of questions and a lot of this stuff is loaded, but maybe just share some of your thoughts on all of it and just leadership in general in our industry.
This is a total loaded question. I like how you intro.
Which is why I asked you.
I know. This is totally your idea for a topic, and it's a loaded question, and then you go, now go ahead, Dave, go first.
But I would be more than happy to as well.
Well, I don't know if I think beyond just in industry, I think what you would call the leaders, the pioneers of just search, social, SEM, just digital marketing, they're all busy now. They're all moved on. Everyone's moved on. I mean, you know, my daughter is now at her first job doing, you know, SEO and stuff. So think about that. And, you know, many of those people, there's a number of people that are even retiring.
Yeah.
There's a number of people over the years that have, you know, sold their company, just recently sold their company, or, you know, Bruce, they moved from consulting over to a tool provider of some sort, I forget. And there's all sorts of change just going on across, you know, not just digital, but, you know, social, SEM, even, you know, there was a big thing recently about influencers and how one of the, I forget who it was. It wasn't General Mills. It was someone that was basically going to be digging into their influencers and making sure that they were using real data, and they were actually working with real influencers and kind of calling them out. Every year SEO is dead, but I think it goes not just to our industry as far as leadership and that kind of stuff. I think it's just within a company. I think to be a leader, it's not someone who sits in some room somewhere and commands people. It's someone that has maybe not done everything, but is more than willing to get their hands dirty, to sit in there and fight for their team and not just throw them under the bus.
Yeah, and you know, something that I thought was interesting was, you know, part of the discussion that was going on. I mean, you know, you mentioned briefly about some of the old ones that have moved on, and I think of Jill Whelan. And, you know, she's moved on and done other stuff, but she was a huge influence in early SEO, and one of the you know, in my mind's OGs of SEO and stuff like that. And so, she made a comment talking about how there's a lot of people, that were making comments about like different leaders and this and that, and she was reminding people that back in the day, like there was a lot of crap going on with this certain conference and what happened, but like she was also reminding people that kind of stuff was also going on and happening back in their day and stuff like that. And so this was even when these quote unquote leaders were alive and strong in the industry. And so I just thought that was an interesting point as well. And it goes to my thoughts on it, Dave, are I don't know how you get like one governing board or one leadership board. Like going back to Tony and talking about Sempo and what they had tried to do originally with that, and having some kind of a, I don't know, all ruling governing board isn't really the right word, but you know what I mean. But he talked about how he stepped down a couple years ago because basically he just saw it as a waste of time and people not taking it serious. And so it goes like, I just wonder if our industry needs a leadership like that, or if we can, what's the word I'm looking for? Like self-patrol, or if we could just kind of continue to figure it out ourselves. Like I understand certain industries, like, the legal industry and the automotive industry, and these places have like people that they, have to, or rules that they have to abide by and things like that. And so I don't know, like it's the thing that's interesting about search engine optimization in this world is like what you just said. You're like, because you got the social side of it, you got the paid side of it, who governs what, who says this is right or that's wrong, and there's lots of people that are in there trying to make the rules, or that are trying to do certain things. And apologize, got some background, as it were, when we record, the yard gate show up. But anyway, but you have people, trying to rule and govern and say certain things that have not even got their hands dirty, or never built a website, or never owned a business, or never tested something. And so, I'm thinking, how am I going to do, or how am I going to like listening to someone trying to tell me or govern what I do if he's never done what I've done? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But I don't know. So it's just interesting to see, and I don't know if there is some sort of solution, or I don't know if how the thought that I did have was how every state seems to be getting their own little marketing institute. Like I know DFW SEM, and then the SLC SEM, and then there's one in Portland, the Minnesota. I mean, there's lots of different areas, where our industry is strong and has these little groups and local meetups and stuff. And I don't know if they're in all 50 states, but I know in Arizona it's Azima. I'm almost wondering if there could be some sort of universal test that each of them go about, or I don't know. What are your thoughts on something like that? I mean, I know that there's these groups that people flock to and be a part of and go to monthly meetings and stuff, and that might be a start.
I just think anything like that's going to be tough at that local level. I mean, I don't know if it's the best example, but taxes is, on the internet side of things is getting more and more complicated with e-commerce now. You're going to be able to, every state's going to be able to tax stuff. So what about me? If I have a client in Texas, I'm not based in Texas. Do I have to first go through their rules? If I have a client in Canada, if I have a client in the UK, if I'm based in Costa Rica, if I'm based in the UK and I have a client in Texas, or, I start working with, say Purple down the street, out there in, what are they in SLC in Salt Lake City somewhere?
Yeah, they are. Yeah, well,
okay.
Yeah, they're in Provo County, but close enough.
Yeah, somewhere in that area. Do I have to, abide by some sort of quote unquote made up rules as far as I'm concerned? because I'm here in the EU.
Yeah.
So I think anything like that's going to be tough. What it should be is, I would hope that we look at leadership more as in our own space as much as we can, and be good stewards and good mentors. And anyone that you come into contact with, for you and I, it would be anyone that is in our sessions, anyone that we work with, any of our clients, or anyone that, works for us, that we try to be good mentors and leaders for them.
Well, and that
lead
brings
by
up the point of why we started this podcast too. Like, we wanted, you and I aren't trying to be leaders. I mean, if people want to put a label on us, whatever, we can't help that. But we wanted to do this just because, we wanted to help out the industry, and there's so much crap out there, and we wanted to do our best to get good stuff out there. So, that's kind of what I was thinking of when you were saying that.
Well, and I suck at writing, so.
Well, me too.
I'm still waiting for someone to look at the write-ups for the podcast and be like, what? And I'll be like, yeah, that's me. There's a reason why I'm not blogging on a daily, weekly basis, and this is why.
Well, for me, I look at, the leaders or the people that I looked up to in this industry when I first got into it. And, of course, like the names Danny Sullivan and Deborah Mastler and Aaron Wall, even Todd Malakote. I read a lot of his stuff. Matt McGee. Anyway, there's a lot of people I consider mentors and old G's in this industry. And, I don't know if any of them really considered themselves leaders, but I think what they did better than maybe some of the people today is they did a little bit better job of being inclusive of all views and all industries and all people, and they tried their best to just kind of reach across the board and not alienate people and whatnot. And so I don't know if that's something, or if again, like anyone that wants to step up, like there's lots of people that are providing really good information today. Like one of the people that I think is doing a fantastic job, Ross Hudgens. Yeah. I mean, he's doing a phenomenal job. The content that he puts out, and I mean, he's a direct competitor of ours, but I mean, I'm going to give props where props is deserved, and he's killing it and crushing it in my opinion, and doing a good job, kind of just head down, not causing controversy, but also putting out good content and stuff like that. And so I believe that there are people that we can look up to still, and maybe leadership is just that, a label,
I think the best way for a leader is someone that leads by example. Like the people that say, hey, look at me, come follow me, often are not the ones that are probably the best leaders. It's the people that people want to follow and seek out and follow, or they find and go, wow, this person, man, woman, child, whoever, is an inspiration, or wow, they really explain that well, and oh my gosh, whatever they're working on, or however they're doing something, inspires you or somehow leads you. I think that, to me, is what's really cool.
This makes me think of something too. Like I wanted to definitely share in this podcast, because I've had the pleasure, and I'm not going to name people specifically because I just don't want to get into that at this point. But I've had the pleasure of getting to know certain Googlers very specifically, and have formed friendships over the years from going to conferences and just in the specific little areas that I was in. And one of the things that's kind of interesting to me that was told to me once was, they said, Matt, Google doesn't have to be here. Like Google is here for the industry, trying to help out and trying to make it better. We don't have to be here. Whether we like to believe that we're their life force or whatever, but they're already their own beast, and they don't owe us anything. Okay. And, they're going to make their money regardless. And so when they come out and they do try to help us, and they do try to share insights, and they do try to share information, why do we want to bite the hand that feeds us? Why do we want to cause problems for them. It's just going to make them not want to come to our industry events. It's just going to make them not want to. Now, I'm not saying that we can't call them out and do the, like I just look at how, it used to be when Matt Cutts was in the industry, and like, he would get called out, but we were never like rude. We never like went crazy on him again. And I'm really trying hard to not like point any specific things out. Okay. That's not what you and I are about, Dave. We don't want to call specific people out, but I'm just saying, like, I found it quite interesting from my conversation with him. Like, they're honestly just trying to help us. They're wanting to give us better information. They're wanting to hear feedback from us. And so, like, why are we beating them up so bad? Why are we like, I don't know. Thoughts on that?
I don't know if it's beating them up. I just think that people forget that Matt and everyone that works there is a PR person at some level, especially if you're talking about, what percentage of my links do you need if I do a re-inclusion? They're not going to say. Danny wouldn't even say recently what the suggested length of a meta description should be, because people take that as an exact what it should be.
Yeah, they take them word for word.
And I think that's the problem, is that everything is gone through either legal or PR a lot, or they have to mince their words so much, or a lot of times they answer a very specific question with a very specific answer, and someone takes that as a general rule across anything.
Yeah.
And you're not looking at the exact example in that exact instance where they said, here's my stack. I'm on this type of CMS. I'm on this. This is what's happening. And they say, well, what about this? And people go, oh, well, when this happened, you're supposed to do this. No, they said these 20 different things that are going on along with this one problem is what they suggested.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that's where then suddenly this becomes this, and then, people just run with it and say, oh, well, so-and-so said this.
That's why for me, and I have so many conversations with, people I consider industry giants, and they kind of agree the same thing. That's why, like, a lot of us have just, heads down, do the work, make our own money, because here's what it comes down to. When it comes to like all that drama and stuff going on and all that energy and time and focus on that kind of stuff, you know what? That's not making me any money. And so, I want to focus on the things that make me money. Otherwise, it's just wasting my time. And so, again, I'm not saying that leadership is bad. I'm just saying, again, just I guess kind of got to skirt the way that I word this, but pick your leaders wisely, and if there's someone that you consider a mentor, a leader, that's great. Reach out to them, learn from them, but also understand that what you do and how you do you, that's the bottom line. That's going to make the money, and that's where you have to have your focus on. And so and again, I don't see it happening, but until any kind of formal leadership or governing board of our industry comes about, I'm just
there
going to
won't be one.
Yeah,
There
and
won't
I
be
agree.
one.
I agree.
It doesn't make sense.
I agree 100%, and I don't think there will be either. But I'm just saying, like, for me, I'm just going to focus on me and those people that I do learn from and that I mesh with and I gel with and I like. I'm going to continue to work on building those relationships. And for me, that's where the leadership comes in. Like, to me, more than the word leadership, I guess I would just call it networking and building that network of people that I trust around me and people that I can go to. Like, for example, even, you and I, a lot of times, like, we're good friends, but there's a lot of times we'll bounce ideas off each other saying, hey, I have this specific problem. Like, what do you think? And then you and I will go to Melissa, or I'll go to Andy Bill, or I'll go to Matt McGee, or I'll go to, just people that I've gotten relationships with over the years, and people come to me as well. And so, I don't know. To me, that's where it all comes down to, just the relationship.
Yeah, I think just lead by example in your own tribe, in your own team, in your own company, with your own corporation, your own network, and look for people that do the same, and look for people that inspire you and look at them as leaders. There's a lot of people that always say they're not celebrities or they're not leaders, and there's athletes that have said that in the past. And I think
I am not a role model. Who said that?
I'm not a role model. I'm not I think a lot of people in our industry, and just in any industry, are probably like that. It's like, I'm not a role model. I'm human. I make mistakes. 3 years ago or 5 years ago or 10 years ago, we sold links, or 10 years ago, as a sports player or some other person did something, depending on what that thing is, everything is, whatever. But I think it should go to lead by example as much as possible for your own team. Look for people and mentors to lead you by example, and look for those types of people in your own company, in your own industry, in your own space. So that's all I got.
Perfect.
We got to run.
Yep. Great advice. Thank you. And, would love to continue this conversation, you guys, on leadership. Anyone that wants to join in the discussion on the podcast, feel free to comment. Hit us up on Twitter where we post all this, or on Facebook, and let's keep the conversation going. We would love to hear your thoughts on it. And so, for Dave Rohr with Northside Metrics, I'm Matt Siltala with Avalanche Media, and thank you guys for checking out this latest episode on the Business of Digital podcast. Bye, guys.